Welcome to Start Somewhere the podcast with Isabelle. I'm your host, Isabelle Prestia, and I'll be sharing my mind shifts and tools to turn your struggles into some of your best wins ever. We'll be chatting how you can fight fear, cultivate confidence, and become the most empowered person I know you are so deserving of. All by starting somewhere. Last week, we chatted all about how we wanted our past connections to feel. And this week, we are going to be talking about the green flags in your relationships. Whether it's the homemade breakfast in bed or the home-cooked meals, or even just the really fun date nights, being asked to move in with somebody. Whatever it is, I think it's so important to not suppress all the memories, but be selective and keep the good ones in mind. So I'm sure you've heard the term red flags thrown around pretty loosely, I'm sure on social media and just chatting with your friends as well. But I want to focus on all the good stuff that happens in relationships first. So the following points I'm about to share, this is just what I believe, are so essential for an intimate connection. This can also be with friendships, but for the sake of season 1, we are focusing more on, a romantic relationship. It sounds pretty funny saying it like that. Do you feel safe and secure to speak your mind, to share a crazy thought, to be honest with that person? And I'm sure I really am passionate about being honest. I think it's very important for healthy relationships. However, being clever about your honesty and not using it to hurt somebody, however, being strategic with that honesty. So I want you to realize there's a difference between having clever honesty and compassionate honesty. So be insightful and be empowering with your honesty. Don't be brutal. Learn the difference. I believe it's so important in a relationship to be supported. If they're not adding something extra to your life, and I don't mean like a materialistic or physical object, if they're not complementing your life mentally, let them go. I know in my past, I always felt so safe to, share my crazy ideas or whatever random thought I had. I felt so safe to share that with a special somebody. And being able to reciprocate that support back. So whatever idea I had, I remember when I posted my very first YouTube video a few years ago and I was terrified to post it. And I remember back then my boyfriend, he, helped me post it. I was so scared of what people would think, and just having his support there, I think is so important. And it's being each other's biggest fan. So you need to be your number one fan, but they should be your biggest fan as well. There shouldn't be resentment if the other person is succeeding and doing things that they want to do, and maybe the other person isn't necessarily on that same level yet. You need to be able to be happy for them. You don't want this jealousy and resentment and secretly just not satisfied with their wins. Next, it is so important to be respectful of each other's interests, especially if you don't have an interest in them. So, for example, in the past, I don't really care if somebody I'm in a relationship with or whatever is, into mindful living and wellness and meditation. I don't care. To be honest, it's kind of my thing. I kind of want that to be my thing. It's no big deal if they're not. And I think it's so important to respect that from the other person, even if you have no interest whatsoever in that. I remember when I was learning meditation, my partner had no interest whatsoever in any of this type of stuff, but he was so respectful and, allowed me my time to learn and to do it, and was quiet when I was doing it, and, just listened to everything that I discovered and learnt more about. And it's so special to have that with somebody, and for somebody to just respect what you are interested in. I think that shows a really good sign of maturity as well. Even if you don't care, just pretend you care. Ask the question, show a general interest, and try your best, because this is somebody that you love. This is somebody that you're with. You need to be there for each other. You need to have each other's backs. And I also believe it's so important to feel inspired by one another. Like I said before, to not feel resentful when the other succeeds, but to be inspired by their success. So think about, how does a connection make you feel? I know I always do this whenever I'm seeing my friends. How do you feel straight after seeing them? Do you feel like super drained and like you kind of wasted your time, to be honest? Or do you leave feeling excited and happy and you're so like appreciative and grateful to have just shared like a connection or whatever you did with that person? And I like, that is me. I am so like proud of the connections I have in my life now, because every single time I see anyone important to me, I always, or they always, like instantly we message each other straight after saying, you know, thanks for catching up. It's so good to see you, like whatever it is. And it's just such a nice reminder to know that you have good people in your life. And that is so important. And I honestly feel if you have a solid group of friends and maybe your relationship isn't as great, one of those is going to influence the other, whether that's the friendships making you realize, hey, you're not being treated properly in this relationship, or vice versa. You may not have the best group of friends, but you have a really great relationship with somebody. Something that I always do is I give my all in connections that I have with people. Even in my past relationships, I just make sure I give every single bit I have so that way I can look back and not have any regrets. Even in the moment, if I know like it may, and this kind of goes back to me not listening to my intuition in the past, I would still go ahead with something and make an action or a decision because I wanted to give it my all. But then it's like I knew I wasn't listening to my intuition at the same time, if that makes sense. But I don't have any regrets because, I mean, number one, I don't think we should have regrets. Like, it would suck living with regret with how you treated people, or maybe how you wanted to treat somebody different and you did it. But just make sure you give it your all and push your ego to the side yet again. I'm going to say it's going to be more fun. Like, as soon as you push through that fear, push through that barrier and take the leap and say what you actually want to say or what you actually want to do, like I mentioned before, be clever with your honesty, it's going to be so much fun. We shouldn't be in relationships with people, even friendships, who leave us feeling uneasy, who leave us feeling confused and unsure and foggy about what this is or what they're bringing to us or how we're feeling. Like, we need to feel and be so certain of the people and the connections into our lives. Like, be selfish with who you allow in and who you spend your time with, and realize it is more than okay to say no to seeing people if you simply cannot be bothered. Like, we shouldn't feel the pressure to constantly have to see somebody or go to events or whatever it is because you feel the pressure by these people around you. If you don't want to go, don't go. And I'm just such a big advocate of just doing what you want to do, to an extent, of course. And next, I want you to realize it is more than okay to walk away from people and connections and relationships that are no longer serving you. If they are no longer adding value to your life, if they're not satisfying you, complementing your life, bringing you joy and happiness and positive feelings, you can walk away from that. If you have that friend, or you're dating someone, or just somebody in your life and they're draining you, they're making you feel confused and maybe you don't want to see them, you keep you keep rearranging, catching up with them, like you keep postponing it, you keep putting it off, or maybe you're even like talking poorly about them behind their backs to your other friends. Like, that's a sign right there. Do not keep these connections just because you feel like you have to. That is so high school here. I want you guys to realize, like, people who are still in this high school mentality, I don't know, I can't really understand how people are still in that phase. Like, it's so exciting to grow up, and I'm not saying to get old, but to grow and to mature. It's so exciting. You're experiencing a new way of thinking and living because you're shifting. You're raising your self-worth. You're raising your vibration. Like, you're going to find those people who are going to gravitate towards you. And that happened with me. I have always had quite a close group of like a few girl best friends. They weren't necessarily like a solid group, but just, I guess, like individual friendships. And I really wanted like a nice close group. And I never really had that for some reason. And that was just something I always constantly wanted. And as soon as I kind of just shifted away from all these like kind of flimsy connections that literally weren't adding any value to my life apart from, I don't want to say stress, but I would see them and they would be connected to my past, and I would hear this like stories and this and that and gossip, and I'm just like, oh God, like high school yet again. Like I don't want to be around that. And totally okay if people do. Like I feel like people listening to me right now, that's not them, that's not their vibe. So I'm speaking to you guys who are on my level right now. And as soon as I shifted that, and like I said before in my first episode, I made the space for new people. That's what I want you guys to realize so much. Nothing changes unless nothing changes. If you want to make shifts in your life, and we're focusing right now on connections, on people, you need to make that room, and you need to be so okay with it maybe feeling uncomfortable and lonely and sad, but chances are it's not, because if you're doing it for the right reason, if you have the right intentions, you're not going to experience that many negative feelings. If you have a relationship in your life and, okay, it's not perfect, nothing's perfect, but if you have a relationship in your life where they make you feel safe and special, and they listen to you and they show an interest in you and they want to spend time with you, hold on to that, because things aren't always going to be incredible. And like I said before, like I'm somebody who gives it my all, and realize friendships and relationships, it needs to be a 50-50 pull from both sides. I think the only time we can kind of give that excuse is if one of the people is maybe going through something and they need that extra support from that person. But end of the day, it needs to be 50-50, because it's not balanced, it's not healthy, and it's unfair on the person who is putting in more work and the other person who is just constantly receiving but not providing. My mindset is that people are sent to us for a reason. We have certain connections and friendships and relationships with people all for a reason. Sometimes we just simply need to learn a lesson from them. We need to grow ourselves. Sometimes there may not be an actual like solid reason, but they were there for whatever it is. Maybe we got a connection through them, or we found a new hobby. I honestly feel like there's always something, and maybe you both need to learn something from each other. And sometimes that lesson doesn't come until the ending. A breakup is such a fantastic opportunity to reinvent yourself. It can be as minor as, people dye their hair or they change their job or whatever it is for you. This is your chance to overcome a challenge, and it doesn't even need to be a breakup. Whatever, maybe you're leaving a workplace or a friendship, any kind of separation, any just change, like a new chapter in your life is an area for you to overcome that challenge. I actually have a quote right in front of me now. Where is it? It says, "I have the ability to overcome any challenges life sends my way. I view problems as opportunities and hardships as lessons." And that last part, I view problems as opportunities and hardships as lessons, is so powerful. I shout out to my friend Sarah. She sent me a whole bunch of little like affirmation cue cards, actually like last year around Christmas time. And I loved that one. I always read it. And it's just so powerful because, yet again, like I said heaps in episode 1, it's all your perspective. It's how you want your challenge or whatever it is that you're going through to shape you and to shape your future. Sometimes temporary people can leave a permanent change, and that I think is the most empowering mind shift to have, because think about relationships like exes. They come and go and they're temporary in your life for a reason, and you need to learn, you need to grow on why that connection didn't work. And maybe you're both going to do that shadow work and come back together one day and it'll be amazing. Or maybe you're going to do the shadow work and go separate ways. Or maybe one person will thrive and the other won't. Whatever it is, if you just keep to that mentality, it's just a really comforting way, I think, to be okay with people coming and going in your life. Like if you think we live in seasons, like actual summer, autumn, winter, spring. But if you think of your life in general as well, maybe you're going through a period of your life where you're working really hard, then maybe you're not working as much and you're seeing friends more. And then you know what I mean? Like we're constantly chopping and changing our seasons in life. And so people are going to come in and out accordingly to that. So maybe over the summer, you're seeing friends heaps, you're meeting heaps of new people, you're partying, you're doing whatever. Winter comes along, you're like hibernating, you're working really hard. Maybe you've lost a few friends that you had in the summertime. People come and go for a reason. People spark our interest for a reason. Maybe you need to learn something from each other. Maybe they're there to stay with you forever. Maybe you're constantly there to bounce off each other and you're thriving off each other and you just have that really like incredible connection with that person. Recognize that and realize if you got something good, you got something good, and really hold on to that and work towards that. If you think about the best friendships and relationships, the best friendships, it's honestly not about who you've known for the longest. It's about who's been there for you. And I know a lot of my close girlfriends, they're not my friends from high school. I've only known them for like 2, 3, some of them 4 years. Like that's not that long compared to these people who have friendships since they were like 6 or 7. But those people in my life, like, they've been there for me in really tough times. And so our connection has just like boomed. Like it's just grown so much because they're there for me at all times. Go back to the feelings we discussed last week on how you want these connections to bring you and really sit in that, really focus on that and have those feelings towards yourself. How on earth are you going to attract or find these people who add these great feelings if you're not doing that to yourself? Be your own best friend. It is the best thing you can ever do. I don't care if you think that sounds stupid. We're keeping an open mind in this podcast, guys. Be your best friend. It is the most comforting feeling ever, knowing that whatever happens in your life, you have yourself. As soon as you have that, you will literally draw in people who feel that about you as well. And guys, I'm talking from personal experience. This is exactly what I did. I sat there and focused on what I want to feel from these people in my life. If you know me personally, I honestly like thrive off the people I'm around. I haven't always been like this because I never had those types of people around me. And I am quite social because I just love spending my time with these types of people. And I love my friends to absolute bits and they know me so well and I can be so open. I can be so much of myself around them. And that's powerful, guys. Like we're not here to go through life alone. We are here to go through life with people. What's that saying? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Just remember, everything is exactly as it seems. If you want something bad enough, put your mind to it and you can attract it. You can manifest it. Raise your worth, raise your self-vibration, and take everything I say with a pinch of salt. You deserve to be with somebody and to be surrounded by people who make you feel at ease, who do not bring about these negative feelings of stress and uneasy and worry and even depression and anxiety. You need to find people who lift you up and leave you fulfilled. And they are out there. If you're surrounded by negative, toxic people, look at yourself. Realize, what can I change about myself? How can I lift my vibration up? And I'm sure you are an incredible person. I'm sure you have a really wonderful soul. I know I'm attracting those types of people to this podcast. So believe in yourself that you have those really amazing qualities and that you deserve to be loved by so many people. I don't care how cliche and corny that sounds. That's the truth. And yet again, this all starts with self-love. This all starts with how much respect you have for yourself. And this can look like allowing the time for these people to take advantage of you, to use you, to manipulate you, to just not value you. And that's where it starts. Take a step back, cut those people off, delete them, unfollow them. Like, honestly, unfollow people on Instagram because you want to, not because, oh, I'm scared what they're going to think of me. Who cares, guys? We cannot get caught up on these stupid little things. Like, honestly, there is power in removing people on social media. You don't realize how quickly you forget about them because you're no longer seeing their name, their face, their photos, their constant updates. Get rid of those people. Get rid of the people who are connected to your past and you don't want to see that. It is totally okay, guys. Like, it is 2020. Look at what's going on right now. We are allowed to be selfish with our time. We are allowed to be selfish with who we allow into our lives because it is ultimately only going to better you. It is only going to add more value to your life and increase the quality of your life as you increase the quality of the people and the connections around you. Find your tribe, guys. It is the most empowering feeling ever, and it will lead to infinite possibilities. I know I have found my people, and I know I'm continuing to find more and more. I know there is no limit. I know I say quality over quantity, but these people are just so solid in their connections, and I just know I'm attracting the right people at all times. And it's just the most warm and fuzzy feeling having these friendships around me. And start off with your friendships, guys. We want quality over quantity. Ditch the high school mentality, ditch the need to have 20 plus group of friends who just catch up and don't have these fulfilling connections that bring you value, guys. Maybe reach out to somebody new this week, or rekindle a connection with somebody from your past who you miss and who really gave you time, like who really cared for you and showed an interest in you, and who is still doing that in your life. And send them a message, like just do it. Put your ego aside and just go for it, because you don't know what's going to happen. And chances are, if that person cares for you and shows an interest in your life and adds value to you, that's for a reason. I really want you to look at all these green flags in the friendships and the relationships and connections that you have around you, and realize if you have it good, hold on to that and really cherish that and build upon it, because we're not always giving these great people to have in our life. Like I said, like we go in seasons, they come and go, life flows, people flow, and really hold on to those people who just make you feel happy and excited, and you look forward to seeing them. And when you leave, you want to see them again, like you're messaging them, you constantly want to talk to them. Look for those types of people in your life, and remember, perfect isn't a thing. If it's close enough to perfect, that's incredible, and keep on working towards that. Keep growing together, keep building together, and keep thriving together. I felt like I was back in time, except I had overstayed. Things felt old, but in a familiar way, neither great nor horrible. The fact it was Valentine's Day was ironic. I had to get out. Almost every night I slept over, I imagined driving home in the early hours of the morning. Was it wrong? The thought of this, or that I actually considered it. What I had with you was great, but I feel it's gone way past its use by date. I need to move on, and this is something I've also known for far, far too long, and I keep choosing to ignore it. You're just not right for me anymore. No matter how hard I try to see past this, it continues to appear. I was made to feel on top of the world. I fooled myself into thinking everything was as perfect as it seems. Everything seemed perfect. I thought everything was perfect. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed this and you want to see more, follow our journey on startsomewhere.podcast on Instagram. I'm Isabelle, and I look forward to chatting with you in our next episode. Have a sweet day.